Namaskar, 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 and welcome to this amazing session today where we're going to talk about how do you basically build a startup from the scratch. It's going to be very interesting. So, all of you who are looking at creating a startup, right? And also those people who are looking at launching a new business should pay very deep attention to what we are talking about today, because this will save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of ups and downs in your startup journey, and will take you to a desired level at a speed of light. So we're going to have a lot of conversation around why these startups, to look very, very romantic and very exciting from outside to the outside world, But when you get into a startup, the scenario is not the same. It becomes very painful. It becomes a drudgery. It becomes monotony. It becomes firefighting, a lot of stuff, which is not what you actually have imagined. When you look at the movies, how they show the hero comes and he has an idea, he starts and becomes a billionaire and going through the jet in the business class and going through the parties and all that jazz. But when you come to the real life, you find out startup owners are really struggling. And I'll tell you statistics that 80% of the startups shut down the first 5 years. And that's a huge number. So what are the mistakes these startups make, which you need to avoid if you want to achieve long-term success? And there are many mistakes which I see as a business coach that I can see the startups making, and when I talk to them, their owners are telling, we are doing this, we are doing that, this, and I realize there's so many fundamentals which are missing, and there's so many things which they're doing which they should be doing, and so many things they must be doing, should be doing. They don't have focus at all in that area. So what are the mistakes which these startups make, because of which they are unable to grow their business to the level they want to, correct? And then eventually get stuck after some time, and they realize that the startup is not growing. And as I already told you, 80% of them shut shop, or partiya badal jata hai bahar ka. So if you don't want that to happen to you, to your first business or your second business or your third business or your fifth business, listen to me very carefully, because we are talking about how you need to be a startup which sustains, how you can start a new business which sustains, launch a new business which sustains, grows, and makes money for you. And all the myths I'm going to bust, and some lies I'm going to change in terms of your thought process, and reveal some truths, right? So get ready for that. So pull out a pen and paper and make notes today, because today's session is about writing a lot of stuff. And because I'll be pointing out small parameters, small pointers, which if done correctly will give you awesome results, and if it's missed out, might lead you to challenges which you really don't want to face as a business owner. So it's going to be a lot of conversation. It's going to be a lot of learning. So please get totally focused, get immersed into the conversation right now, so that you are a rising startup, a growing startup, a profitable startup, a happy startup owner, not a one who's struggling. Whether it's your first business or second business, what I'm going to share with you today is going to help. But before we get deep into that and ask you a couple of things and share with you all the tools and all the mistakes which you need to avoid, let me just first ask you to introduce yourself. That's something which I always ask. So get to know you, who you are, where you're from, what business you do. Helps me to fine-tune my conversations in that accordance. So please go ahead and go to chat window and type out your name, the city you're from, and the business you do. I have 3 things. Your name, the city you're from, and the business you do. Very quickly to the chat window, type out, please. Your name, the city you're from, and the business you do. So I get to know who you are, where you're from. Your name, city you're from, business you do. Everybody. If everybody does that, I get to know everybody. Allows me to make the content more relevant and pointers more effective for you. So go ahead, everybody. And of course, I would like to know you. All right. So go ahead, write down your name, the city you're from, and business you do. Go into chat window quickly. And while people are joining now, let me share with you 4 biggest mistakes that a startup needs to avoid to achieve success in the long run is what we are going to discuss today. And it's going to be an amazing session. And I want you not to miss even one iota or one thought or one point also from the session. So please pull out a paper and a pen and start making notes so that you don't miss out anything. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, put your name, the city you're from, and the business you do. Your name, city you're from, business you do into the chat window, and get ready with pen and paper when we start talking about what are the 4 biggest mistakes you need to avoid 4 as a business owner to achieve long-term success. Go ahead, guys, write down, boom, and let's get started. So when you talk about startups, okay, the most common term that comes to anybody's mind, including a startup owner, is focusing on the valuation of the company, right? And the investment they need to gather from the market, the funding they need to gather from the market. Millions of dollars is the dream. And then it's the limelight and the unicorn status and all these blah, 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 blah things. While the reality is that to make a startup successful, there is a very different path, which has all these things, but these are not focus area at all. And it requires a different set of things you need to work upon, not all the things I spoke about. Okay. So what we are going to discuss today are the 4 mistakes you need to avoid to ensure that your startup sustain, scale, and remain profitable. Because these are the pillar of business growth, not anything else. Sustain, bacha rahe pehle to. Then scale, बढ़ता rahe. And remain profitable, paisa kama ke de. And if these 3 years are not getting met, then you're not doing a business, you're doing a joke. You're running a hobby. Because any business to be business, it has to first sustain, then it has to grow, and then it has to make money. Only then it's worth your time and worth your effort. So let's focus on 4 areas one by one, which you need to focus on rather than anything else which they show in the movie and the medias. That's not the reality. So let's get to the real meat of doing a startup. Okay. Now, mistake number 1, which you need to avoid, write down. Mistake number 1, which you need to avoid, is not having clarity of business model. Write it down. Not having clarity of business model. Now, so many startup owners think that by simply having one use case, that means an idea that there is a problem which you can solve, okay? Or here is a service or a product which I can offer. They think these things are enough for them to go forward, acquire fund, start a business. Now let me tell you, this is not all what you need to move forward. Rather, you need to create a sustainable business model. Write down. You need to create a sustainable business model, which means you need to understand the following. What is the target market you need to focus on? That's number 1. Now, you're looking at everything else, but you don't look at the target market to focus on. Nothing will happen. So number 1, you need to focus on what is the target market. That's point number 1. You can write down, otherwise you will not remember, guys. Okay. What is the target market you want to focus on? Number 2, what is the size of this market? Like how many people are there in this market, right? Number 3, how huge the problem is that you're looking at solving. Because if the problem is not large enough, huge enough, then you're very niche, highly unlikely that you will succeed there. Okay. Very niche, requires very niche solutions. You might not be prepared or equipped to provide that. So if the problem is huge, is faced by many people, your solutions will work much more conveniently. Okay. So number 1, what is the target market you want to focus on? Number 2, what is the size of market? Number 3, how huge is the problem? How prevalent is the problem that you're looking at solving? And then you have to solve, then you have to get into other things. Number 4, what will be your product and service to resolve that problem for that particular market? Okay. What will be your product and service that will resolve the problem for the particular market? Number 5, how will you serve that? How you serve that market? How will you take that product and service to that market? Reach kaise karoge? Okay. So what will be the product and service? How will you take the product service to the people? How you serve them? How will you reach the target market? That's number 5. Number 6, what will be your revenue stream? कैसे 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 पैसा आएगा? कहां से लोग खरीद सकते हैं? Right? Then what will be your margin? What will be your profitability? Right? That's number 7. Number 8, what is going to be your operational structure? कौन करेगा, क्या करेगा, कितने लोग लगेंगे, ऑनलाइन क्या होगा, ऑफलाइन क्या होगा? What is going to be your service or operation structure? So there are a lot of things which you need to focus on or plan well, rather than just having an idea. मेरे पास एक idea है. An idea can change life, sir जी, बराबर है, पर idea के बाद काम करना पड़ता है. Idea are a dime a dozen. Every person who's working in a company has an idea to start a business, but do they do that? No. It's there in the mind, because after the idea, all these things are needed which people don't focus on and people don't create. So number 1 mistake is not focusing on creating a business model. Okay, so if you create a business model, which means decide your target market, check the size of market, check how big is the problem, check what product or service will solve the problem, check how will you take the product and service and serve the customer, then check how many different revenue streams you should have, then check what is the margin and profitability you will have, then check and create what will be your operation structure to serve the customer. पैसा आ जाने के बाद कैसे सर्व करोगे, स्ट्रक्चर क्या होगा उसका, who will do, what they will do, from where will you do, lot of things to be answered about, lot of things to be planned. So it's not just an idea, but all this planning that will get your business started. शुरुआत होगी इससे. ये पेपर पे है, हम पेपर पे नहीं कर रहे, right? पेपर पे बाकी चीजें कर रहे हैं, ये नहीं कर रहे. Once you make a business model, you are ready to launch. Then once you're ready to launch, mistake number 2 you must avoid, this is to be carefully, is not focusing on marketing. पहले business model नहीं है, दूसरा marketing नहीं है. Many startup owners I have met, they have a common mistake that they feel that once they have identified a business idea, okay, or they have simply created a working prototype, they have created a product or service, next thing they feel that now we have to get funding. Chalo funding leke aate. Now I know probably this has been centralized and this has been shown in the media and all that stuff, that ye karne se funding leke fir arbo kharbo kama lete hain, but that's not the reality. The reality is, just by creating a product or service, it does not entitle you to be successful or get investment. The reality is that once you have got your product and services, once you know the market, once you have a business model, you have to start marketing. How you build a brand, how you market the product and services. So it's absolutely important that in a startup phase, a good amount of money, a good amount of effort has to go into figuring out how can you market your product and services effectively, so that you can get some traction. People are knowing about you. You can get some visibility. You can build some trust, and then business can be generated. There are steps to be taken. ऐसा नहीं idea आ गया और आपने अरबों कमा ली, तो फिर क्या है? जान पहचान में you do 5, 10, 20 sales and then it exhausts. So any business that is functioning today, it is because they are marketing, and not only for lead generation, but they're also marketing for building a brand. They're marketing to build a trust. They're marketing to build a visibility. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, right? And as a startup, you also have to understand that you require marketing as one of your force to create a space in the market. You're trying to position yourself or penetrate in. If you want to be a force there, you have to market and ring the bell, ding, 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 ding. People start noticing you. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. Earlier days, you need to have 4 impressions on somebody's mind to make them buy something. Today, that thing has gone up to 16 to 20, right? And if you don't market, you stand no chance. You never play in the big boys league. You're always gully cricket, never league. If you don't go to the league, then you need to market. So you must focus on market, not just rely on word of mouth, customer referral. Rather, look out at strategic ways to reach out to your target market. Now, there are many ways by which you can market, and you can take your product out. I'm not going deeper into it because that's a subject by itself. But there are hundreds of ways by which you can market. But what I'm saying is, the point is that you need to make sure that your product and services reach out to more and more people. More and more people know about your brand. More and more people understand about your brand. more and more people understand about product and services, this will in turn start building trust, create acceptability of your brand, product and service in the market, and then you can become big. So focus on marketing. Without that, there is no growth. That's number 2. Mistake number 3, lack of focus on profitability. ये भी बहुत बड़ी mistake है. Huge issue with a lot of business owners is that they feel post having a business idea, all they need to is acquire funds. Post which, once I get the fund, I will pump the money, I'll start getting people, I'll raise more funds and more funds and more funds. Now, it's all about raising more and more money while nobody focuses on creating profit generation in the business. Now, this is the fundamental mistake that many make in the world of startup or the world of business. Because at the heart of business is about creating value for others and generating revenue and deriving profit from that. Business is about solving problem of the customer. So if your focus is not on the long-term profit generation, you will always struggle with the money. And at the end, business might not even survive. क्योंकि हवा पे कब तक चलेगा? हवाई महल है, हवा हवा ओ हवा वैसा हो जाएगा, और वो अपने को नहीं चाहिए. We want something which is stable, which sticks and grows long term. So of course, there are business models which might require longer time to become profitable, right? But that does not mean that profitability is not at the center of what you do. Yeah. A lot of people don't have the sensitivity also that I want to make my business profitable. So I want to make sure that you push profitability as a major agenda from day one. And despite understanding it might take a long period to attain the same, which is fine. But still, it is at the center of everything you do that business needs to be profitable. Now, you look at giants like Amazon, Flipkart, Facebook, all these businesses became profitable after a substantial amount of time. But that doesn't mean they were not focusing on profitability. It was always at their heart, at the center. Their business model was very well laid out. They knew exactly after hitting which number or achieving which milestone, they will be massively profitable. That's why they are still moving forward in their business. So having those things pointed out, having those milestones figured out, and having that drive from day one is crucial for any business to actually move forward and remain on the path of profitability, actually grow, actually scale substantially. नहीं तो क्या खाया पिया कुछ नहीं, गिलास बड़ा भरा है ना. And that should be the kind of business you do. So the business needs to be profitable, and you must focus on profitability as a core criteria, one of the core criteria of your business growth. Now, mistake number 4. Mistake number 4, a lot of startup entrepreneurs do is very common, and young entrepreneurs always make this mistake, is that they identify a certain challenge or a problem, right? Or at any given moment, when they can see that this is a business this is a business problem, they start looking at 100 different ways and direction by which they can solve the problem, which means multiple use cases. Now, that's a big issue. Mistake number 4 is focusing on multiple use cases. Now, they start listing themselves as a solution providing in all these different kind of areas, which is a mistake. The reality is that when you begin your journey as a startup owner or entrepreneur, you need to focus on one primary use case. And that one primary use case should be enough, large enough market, strong enough problem, which can sustain your business and make it profitable. If that's not the case, taking one problem and solving it for 10 different type of people will not take you where you want to go. Okay, so you need to have one primary use case for which you start offering product and services. Okay, now when I'm saying use case, what is the meaning of use case? Use case means simple. In simple terms, it means in which condition or need somebody will require your product and services. I repeat, under which condition or for which need will somebody require your product and services. That is the use case. Now, is that big enough? Is that market big enough? Is that problem big enough for people? If the answer is yes, then you start the business. If that's not big enough, don't start. Don't take a problem and try to solve by 100 different ways and have 10 different use cases. इस तरह के लोग भी ले सकते हैं, उस तरह के लोग भी ले सकते हैं, वो जरूरत हो तो भी आ सकते हैं. आप इतने लोग को सर्व ही नहीं कर पाओगे as a startup. Not possible. Because you don't have $1 trillion, $1 billion, $1 million lying with you. Right? If Reliance starts, well, they can. Because they can solve 100 problems at the same time. They have the infrastructure, they have the people, they have the money, they have all the resources. For everybody else who is a startup, you need to look at one problem and try and solve it through one particular use case or a primary solution. I'll give you an example. When Uber started, they have a single use case. Okay? Somebody wanted to go from point A to point B, you can book an Uber local. That's all. That's all they started from. When this use case became successful, when they started making tons of money, nowadays you look at Uber maybe having multiple use cases, like they're giving for outstation, it is giving for rental, it is giving for premium, it is giving for luxury, it is also giving you auto now, right? But now it has happened now. So all these use cases came up after a certain period, not immediately. So you begin with one central use case in mind. When that use case by itself should sustain your business. Right? By itself should be large enough market. By itself has to be strong enough demand. And if it is, then you start serving that, improve that, give it best, and then probably later on you can have multiple use cases. So look at your business idea or a business model. Is that what you focus on, one major use case by which your product and service will be required? If that one major use case is there and it's big enough and strong enough, go through it by all means. Right? And the important point to note here is, use case, as I said, has to be big enough for any market to subscribe your product and services. इतना demand होना चाहिए आपके उस use case का, इतना market होना चाहिए और इतना strong need होना चाहिए, तब आपका startup successful हो सकता है. So these are the 4 fundamental mistakes which you must avoid as a startup, or else you're just a startup enthusiast who's just driven by number, investment, valuation, but you're not focusing on building a business that creates real value in the marketplace, which solves real problem and return has real revenue, real profitability, real scalability, real sustainability. Okay? So if you are a startup guy and you want all that, these 4 things need to be avoided. And this is how you move forward and ensure that you are building a startup from the foundation that is designed to succeed, sustain, scale, and remain powerful. Okay, so I'm going to share very, very quickly, revise all the things which I spoke about so that you don't miss anything. Okay, so what are the 4 mistakes which as a business owner you must avoid as a startup owner, okay, or a launch owner of a new business, even if you have one old business? So mistake number 1, just jumping around with joy. If you have a problem to solve, an idea to resolve it, no. Number 1 is have clarity of the business model. Number 1, have clarity of the business model. Okay. Number 2 is focus on marketing. So marketing gets you traction, marketing gets you attention, marketing builds trust, marketing gets you lead. So have focus on marketing. Okay. Number 3, focus on profitability, not just valuation, not just numbers, not just subscribers, but also focus on profitability, because that's the core which will get you results in the long run and make you richer in valuation and in results as well. Number 3. Number 4, focus on one use case which is primary, not multiple use cases. Now, if you're able to do this sustainably over a long period of time, you will realize that your business, the new business which you're launching, or the first startup which you're having, sustains and grows to the next level. And I hope you found this powerful, and I hope you found value in today's conversation. So I'm going to see you soon. But before I say bye-bye to you, okay, before I say bye-bye to you, I want you to go to chat window and type out something for me. I want you to type out what was the aha moment, aha learning today, or wow learning today. So go ahead in the chat window and type out what was your wow learning in the session today, Also type out what will be the one action you want to take as a startup owner or as a new business owner or as an existing business owner if you're not focusing on certain things I spoke about, mention that. So go ahead into the chat window, guys, write down in the chat window. What is one wow learning you feel you have had today with me? What is that one aha moment which you had today? One learning and also one action which you will take in your business today from what you learned. Go ahead, everybody, quickly write down. Speed of light. Let me see some chat window lighting up. Everybody, go tuck, 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 tuck. Go down, write out. Write down. Everybody write down. Go ahead. That what was one aha moment you had today, right now, and what is that one action you're planning to take which will take your business to the next level. Everybody, go to the chat window, type out quickly. Speed of light. Let me see that. Let me see that. Speed of light, everybody. Speed of light. Go to the chat window and type out what was the aha moment you had today and what was the one learning you want to share with me which you had today. Go ahead, everybody. One action point. Go ahead. Go ahead. And while you do that, remember what you think is better you ink, because when you ink it, you do it. So go type down. Don't just keep in your mind, just type out so you know and I know what are you aiming for. And I'm going to see you very, very soon. Lots of love, lots of care. Take care. Don't leave without putting down. Everybody, do not leave without putting down your key learning from today and one action point.